Hello and welcome to our financial tutorial. We are happy that you are interested in developing an application to one of our upcoming calls. My name is Kamila and I work as a finance officer in the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program. In this video, I'm going to explain how to construct the budget for a core project. Our tutorial is divided into 4 parts. First, I will explain to you the eligibility aspects you should consider before starting to construct your project budget. Then you will learn which cost categories you can plan and how. Next, I will elaborate on our new approach to the staff costs. And finally, we will jointly prepare the budget using a real example. We will go through all of these parts together. Let's start with the first part of the tutorial. Here, I would like to present elements you have to consider before going deeper into the budget planning. First, please make sure that costs you are planning are essential for the project implementation and are relevant for your activities. Remember, the value for money aspect is quite an important criterion of the assessment of your project. Next, think about sound financial management. Your budget must be planned in an efficient way. Effectiveness, efficiency, and economy are the key features. Our program works with the reimbursement principle. But what does this mean for you? As a first step, you have to pre-finance your expenditure. You report the expenditure to the program and get your money back after we have accepted it. Therefore, pay attention to your liquidity. Have money prepared for the start for at least 1 year of the project implementation. On the subject of reimbursement, we will also have to mention the co-financing rate. The program will reimburse 80% of your costs, so 20% will be your own contribution. If your institution is located in Norway, then you will get 50%. Please make sure you have enough financial resources to cover your own contribution. When planning the budget, you should be aware of possible limitations. First limitation concerns the eligibility of VAT. If the total project budget is below 5 million euros, partners who receive state aid under General Block Exemption Regulation and can recover VAT under national legislation cannot include VAT in the budget planning. If the total project budget is at or above 5 million euros, you can only plan VAT if you cannot recover it under national legislation. Additional element for cross-check: investment. In rare cases, investments in our projects might include also purchase of land. If yes, please remember the cost of the land cannot exceed 10% of the investment. As you know, there are also few things which are not allowed in our program. It is important to be aware of these restrictions now and not to plan them in the project budget. No double funding in our program. You cannot use additional EU funds to cover project expenditure. Another point that we would like to raise your attention to is cost sharing. Cost sharing is not allowed. You cannot invoice your project partners. For example, when covering costs for a conference or event. In this case, each project partner contributing to the conference must get own invoice issued by the service provider. Now you are aware of do's and don'ts. Let's check what you can plan. You can plan what is needed for implementation of your activities and is in line with the eligibility rules of our program. However, to construct your budget, you will use 6 main cost categories. We call them CATs. When planning the budget, you will use those categories to sum up the corresponding costs types such as staff cost, office and administration, travel and accommodation, external service, equipment, infrastructure, and works. You can check details about eligibility rules for each cost category in the program manual. You can find it on our program website. Before we show you how to construct your budget, we would like to explain an innovation about the staff costs calculation. We wanted to move away from the real costs calculation. Instead, we have introduced simplified cost options and more specifically, unified hourly rates. What does this mean for you and how does it work? Hourly rates will be predefined, specified per country, the same for each employee regardless position, for productive hours only, so only for working hours spent for the project. Holidays or sick leave do not count as productive hours. What is important to know is that the hourly rate covers the total gross employment costs. What does it mean to have the same hourly rate for each employee? For your project, you will carefully plan involvement of people having different responsibilities, such as project and financial manager, communication specialist, etc. Regardless of the positions and real salary, for each project employee, you will plan the same hourly rate. If you take Finland as an example, the hourly rate will be 36 euros in our tutorial. Please check to which program call your application belongs to, as the hourly rates per country were adjusted within the program duration. Interested to see which hourly rate is relevant for you? Locate your country here to find out. The hourly rate is presented in the national currency. You can see that in Denmark, for example, the hourly rate is 374 Danish krones, while it is 22 euros in Lithuania. As next, we would like to explain an important rule related to the staff costs. It is called the 1720 rule. It applies to all staff costs. 1720 is the maximal number of hours for a full-time employee per one calendar year working only for the project. If you plan a part-time employee with partial involvement in the project, you should reduce the number of hours accordingly, as it is shown on the slide. Now we will show you how to calculate your budget. As example, we will take a lead partner from Finland. We begin with the staff costs. We will show you the calculation steps for 3 different positions: scientist, assistant, and project manager. Let's calculate the staff costs for the scientist together. Your scientist is a half-time employee working for 20% of the project for 1 year of project implementation. You calculate the costs as follows. You multiply the hourly rate for Finland by 1,720 hours, by 50%, then by 20% project work, and by the project duration. We get nearly 6,200 euros. Please try to calculate the other examples by yourself. Did you get the same results? If you summed up together, you will see the total amount of the staff cost in the bottom of the slide. As you have seen, the staff cost calculation was very user-friendly. The calculation of the following 2 cost categories is going to be even simpler. Office and administration and travel and accommodation costs are both flat rates of staff costs. Take your estimated staff costs, multiply it by 15%, and you get your planned budget for office and administration. Repeat this to see your budget for travel costs. What is worth to highlight is the fact that the cost category 3 covers only travel and accommodation costs of your own employees. Travels of external experts will be added to the category external expertise and services. Back to our calculation, if we sum up the budget planned so far, we get about 370,000 euros. It can happen that mentioned flat rates will lead to under or overcompensation. This is a natural consequence of flat rates, and the result will be not balanced with the real costs. The next part of the budget construction will deal with the cost categories 4, 5, and 6. For the application, you have to estimate the real costs that might incur during the project implementation in those categories. Very important for all real costs is the documentation. You will need invoices and payment proofs for reporting real cost expenditure. Also, you have to document the procurement process. Let's start with external expertise and services. In this category, you will plan specific expertise or services that you need for the project implementation. We listed several examples here, such as external expert support or organization of an event. This is also the correct category for travel and accommodation costs for external experts, speakers, or service providers. Now we can sum up the estimated values for the items we have planned. As a result, we will get 92,000 euros. Your budget so far is 462,500 euros. We landed now in the category 5 equipment. Here you can plan cost of purchase, rent, lease, or depreciation of any specific equipment that you need for the project implementation. You can decide whether you need the full costs or the depreciation, rental, lease cost of each equipment. But please remember the value for money principle. If you are planning to buy high-value items with intention to use it for a short period of time, we advise you to approach our secretariat. We will help you to find out the most suitable solution. For example, you need a slurry tank for 2 months of pilot activities. In this case, renting, leasing, or depreciation represent a better value for money than full costs. So let's sum up the examples we listed here. We end up with 476,000 euros. We come now to the last cost category, infrastructure and works. It includes, among others, revitalization, site preparation, delivery, handling, or installation. Here, we would like to draw your attention to 2 important aspects. In case of planning investment in infrastructure, the project partner should either own the land or building or have a legal agreement for a long-term use. In addition, pay attention to specific provisions regarding durability. Among others, ownership changes or other substantial modifications of these investments are not allowed for at least 5 years after the end of the project. Okay, let's continue with our examples. If you sum up the listed items, such as revitalization of peatland or construction of a mobility point, with the previous cost categories, you will end up with 560,000 euros. By this, the calculation of the Finnish lead partner budget is finalized. Now, it is time for your partners to construct a budget. They will follow the same steps and principles as our lead applicant example. At the end, when all partner budgets are ready, you will compile all costs into the total project budget. You will do it in our BAMOS Plus system. We will explain you how to do it on a different occasion. Thank you for your attention. We hope you enjoyed our tutorial and became familiar with the basic topics related to budget planning. Still, we recommend you to read our program manual and have it at hand when working on your financial planning. If you have any questions, we are available and happy to support you. You can find our contacts on our website. You can also follow us via our social media channels. Good luck for your project application.